The Black Panther has been the protector of Wakanda for generations. Now it is time to show the outside world who we are.
The revolution will not be televised.
Everybody think they know me now. Don't be scary, cause we own now. We own now. We own now.
Now that I have your attention.
We only getting started. Cause we own now.
The revolution.
Hey everybody, we got new Black Panther footage to break down, but there's also a whole bunch of Tom Hardy, Venom, Spider-Verse movie stuff that just dropped, so I wanted to do a video for that, but then all this Black Panther stuff dropped, so I figured I'd just do one video for everything. So get hyped, this is so awesome. If you're just finding me for the first time, we do Marvel every week, be sure to subscribe to get everything. There's a bunch of Infinity War and Black Panther stuff coming up between all the Star Wars stuff. Starting with Black Panther footage first, he highlights the lineage of the Black Panther. They've been doing this for generations, now it's my turn. We need to show the world who we are. So it's sort of like Wakanda's coming out ceremony in the MCU, like open the doors wide and let everybody get a peek at why we're so badass. You get a little bit more of him in the new energy costume, you see it forming around him. This footage is a little bit better than the footage in my last video. It's just a little more polished. You can see his armor forming around him the way that Iron Man's armor forms around him. But I love that clip of Lupita, who's one of the Dora Milaje, howling with delight behind the wheel of that car. Like, the Dora Milaje are hardcore. They're so measured and balanced. You see them during Civil War. They look like they don't talk much, but obviously that's not true because she's having the time of her life here. So they're just really badass fighters. We'll get to see some more of their personality during the Black Panther movie. You didn't get a whole lot of that during Civil War. But that aside, they probably just dropped this to highlight the Lexus stuff because they're doing a partnership with Lexus, the car, and they paid like millions and millions of dollars to get that into the Black Panther movie. So if you wonder why Black Panther characters love Lexus cars so much, it's just because they paid a ton of money. It's the same way that Audi paid a ton of money to get their cars into the Iron Man movies. But moving into Spider-Man Venom territory, we know what stories it's going to be based on, and that gives us an idea for how they're going to explain what's going on with MCU Tom Holland's Spider-Man while you have all this other Spider-Man stuff going on. So I know we went through all those Kevin Feige memes earlier this year when Amy Pascal said that the universes were connected, so the way they're treating this makes it easier for them to not have to worry about why Spider-Man isn't around, like if they're swinging around New York City without addressing MCU stuff. So when you hear the stories that it's based on, it will totally make sense how this fits in. And speaking of fitting in, news outlets are starting to report that the Disney-Fox deal will be confirmed on Thursday. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'll explain a little bit about the status of that at the end of the video. But starting with the big stuff first, the origin story. So everybody knows a version of the Eddie Brock origin story, or maybe you know about Venom's Space Knight because you've been reading the Guardians of the Galaxy comics in the last couple of years. So the whole deal is that the symbiote bonds with Spider-Man during Secret Wars. It gets back to Earth, riding on his back, like he learns all about the symbiote, learns that it's evil, tries to get rid of it, then it bonds with Eddie Brock. Then much later, the government starts a program called Project Rebirth 2.0, where they bond the Venom symbiote to Flash Thompson, who at this point is a war veteran. He's a double amputee, so he has nothing left to lose. He's like, I just want to get back in the game. And he becomes Agent Venom, a government-controlled version of the Venom character. Technically, Venom, within these new Sony movies that they're doing, is going to be the anti-hero version of the character. He'll be more like Agent Venom. So the minor change they're making is that Eddie Brock is probably going to be a war vet who's given an opportunity to get back in the game via the Venom symbiote. But the two comic book runs that they're basing the movie on are Venom Lethal Protector and Planet of the Symbiotes. So that sort of explains how the symbiote gets to planet Earth, how the government gets their hands on it, and how he winds up becoming bonded with it. So it sounds like they're bypassing Secret Wars so that if they ever actually do want to cross Venom over with Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man, they can do the Tom Hardy version. So I can understand if you're a little upset about that they're not going to do the Secret Wars symbiote. Tom Holland won't get a version of that, because the suit that he's wearing during Infinity War, the Iron Spider Stark Tech suit, looks just like the brand new version in the comics, and it seems like he's going to be wearing that for the foreseeable future. If you've never read the Lethal Protector storyline, it's basically Venom versus 5 of the offspring of the Venom symbiote: Scream, Phage, Riot, Lasher, and Agony. So in that storyline, Venom teams up with Spider-Man to take down the offspring of his own symbiote. But we actually found out that Carnage is probably going to be the big villain of the Venom movie. He is a part of the Planet of the Symbiotes storyline, and what I think will happen is because in that storyline, a bunch of symbiotes literally fall to Earth, that's how they'll explain the symbiote getting on planet Earth and the government getting their hands on it. And how they might explain the Carnage character and these 5 offspring is the government just experimenting with the symbiote and a couple of the experiments getting loose. So they have their agent Venom, Eddie Brock, Tom Hardy, that has to go take them down. So it's sort of a seek and destroy Venom movie. And Carnage will just be one of the worst versions of those symbiotes. But you guys can let me know what you think about them treating the character that way. But within those 2 stories is the key to how this character can coexist with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and they don't have to address the continuity. They don't have to say, hey, wait, you're Spider-Man. So I've already explained how the symbiote gets to planet Earth, how Eddie Brock gets it, but there's the addition of New York City. That's your problem, geography. If he's in proximity to Spider-Man, how do you explain Spider-Man not coming around? In the Lethal Protector storyline, Spider-Man tells Venom, I'll leave you alone if you leave New York City. So he goes to San Francisco. So it sounds like that's what they'll do with the movie, is it'll be set in San Francisco or somewhere that's not New York City. So you don't have to explain Spider-Man, and they can set it during a time period that's not surrounding Infinity War, so you don't have to deal with that stuff either. Like, holy crap, I gotta chase down all these symbiotes, and there's a purple man coming down from the sky. They just won't have to deal with any of that. And then if they want to, they can just cross the characters over. Think Bond continuity. James Bond movies all exist in a shared continuity, but the films themselves don't directly address all the events that have happened before, with very few exceptions. So that is how the Spider-Verse can coexist with the MCU. So just to differentiate between the 2 different story universes, so when you're talking about Tom Holland's Spider-Man, Spider-Man Homecoming franchise, that's all MCU. Everything else, the animated movie Into the Spider-Verse that they're doing with Miles Morales, the Venom movies that they're doing, Sony's calling that the Spider-Verse. So they can actually cross the Spider-Verse over with the MCU if there's ever a good opportunity for that. But because Sony wants to make so many movies with the Spider-Man characters, and you can only cross so many characters over in the MCU, it just gets too complicated. So the easiest way to deal with that is to say Spider-Verse, MCU. 1 or 2 characters maybe crossing over down the line, but for the most part, the stories of those different universes won't directly address what each other is doing. But here's the big thing though, moving into that Disney-Fox deal that actually might wind up going through tomorrow, if they get the Fox characters, that means they can do a legit Secret Wars Avengers movie down the road. Now, because a movie like that is so big, it would be crazy. I'm not expecting them to try that anytime soon. But it's just the idea that they can do that at some point. Now, a lot of you have said maybe there's a problem with the Fantastic Four characters because a different company owns the rights to that than Fox, so it's a bit of a complicated situation. So within the Fox X-Men group of characters, Fantastic Four is a bit of an aberration, but it's just more complicated. It doesn't mean that Marvel won't get to use those characters, it just requires a couple more hoops for them to jump through. But all the trades are reporting that the deal is at the stage where they've already agreed on the really big terms, and now they're just haggling on all the little stuff in the fine print. So we'll probably hear some really big news in the next couple of days. When we do, I will totally do a reaction video because it is probably the biggest thing to happen in the last couple of years. But of course, it's Star Wars week. Make sure you go see that movie. I'll be posting a whole bunch of Star Wars videos in the next couple of days. Once people get a chance to see it, I'll start doing the more spoilery stuff. I'll talk about the ending of the movie, the big questions that it raises, but leave all your requests in the comments below. And there is a new round of that IMAX ticket giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber, leave a Spider-Man related comment on the video. I'll announce a winner the next time I post a Marvel video. You can click here for my non-spoilery Last Jedi review, and you can click here to rewatch that Spider-Man Spider-Verse trailer. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.